Dear audience, dear jury members, dear clients, good afternoon. It is our pleasure today to present to you our client team project with Volleyball World and specifically their OTT platform, Volleyball TV. The goal of our project has been to understand the customers of the VBTV platform, specifically in 5 regions: Brazil, Italy, Japan, Thailand, and the US. My colleagues and I are looking forward to this, and we're going to start with Kelsey.
The methodology to conduct our project was broken into 3 key sections: 1, survey creation; 2, survey outreach; and 3, data and results analysis. We first went to create our survey by identifying the customer journey. 1, recognition, how they heard about VBTV; 2, why are they interested to access; 3, their decision to subscribe; and 4, their retention. Will they continue subscribing or likely to unsubscribe? In order to create our survey, we utilized a platform called Alchemy. We wanted to keep the survey between 3 to 5 minutes long and created 5 different versions in English, Italian, Japanese, Portuguese, and Thai. The survey was between 21 to 28 questions, with Japan and Thailand having added line-specific questions, which is a messaging platform specific to those regions, which we will explain in further detail later on. The survey had 4 key sections: 1, demographics, to understand the respondent; 2, VBTV recognition, how they heard about VBTV; 3, their preferences and interests, including volleyball interests and alternative interests; and their engagement. How do they use social media? Are they following VBTV, etc.? In terms of the outreach, we utilized our personal networks, university contacts, volleyball forums, and targeted social media campaigns in all regions except for Japan, where our personal networks sufficed. Here's an example of one of the targeted social media campaigns that we ran. We targeted to specific regions and fan demographics, and specifically volleyball fans. We utilized Instagram for all regions and then Facebook for Thailand as well. Here are the total number of survey responses that we received. As you can see, in Brazil, the targeted social media campaign performed incredibly well with 818 responses. And in Thailand was our lowest response rate of 53 responses, as we lacked any personal connections among our team members there. The existing data that VBTV currently utilizes is Google Analytics and Power BI. Both of these platforms contain a lot of quantitative data from number of users, engagement rate, amount paid per country, top regions. However, the missing data here is qualitative data. And that's what we aim to achieve through our survey. We want to identify user personas, customer preferences, motivations to subscribe to VBTV, and put quality content behind that quantitative data. Moving on to results and recommendations. First and foremost, VBTV initial recognition was primarily social media, specifically Instagram, for the US, Brazil, and Italy, whereas the highest majority in Japan was through search engines and in Thailand through competitions.
Brazil is a highly attractive market for volleyball due to its large size, their passionate fans, and the relevance of the sport culturally speaking. The main competition among Brazilians is the Volleyball Nations League, followed by the Brazilian Superliga and the World Championships. The main motivations for subscribing to the VBTV platform in Brazil are to watch the Brazil games, this is the national team, to stream their favorite events and competitions, and to navigate through the various content in the platform, such as interviews, recaps, and highlights. The main discovery channels of the platform are social media, TV broadcasts, and on-site competitions. And the main barriers of subscription in Brazil are language. Close to 50% of the survey respondents we had stated they have some sort of an issue understanding English. And the second one being financial reasons, meaning price. For the purpose of this research, we had the privilege to interview Alex Mariotto. We wanted to share the results with you today because we consider that he represents a significant amount of the comments and responses we have. Alex is a passionate beach and volley fan. He's a casual player, and he has a vast experience working in sports and volleyball in Brazil. He's aware of VBTV, but he's currently not subscribed to the platform, even though he stated that he could reconsider this depending on the content offering in the future. His main goals are to watch high-level volleyball and to watch as many games of the different Brazilian national teams. And then his main barrier of subscription is that he's already paying for 2 subscriptions, one paid TV and the other one a YouTube channel, and he doesn't want to pay for 3 streaming sources to watch volleyball. We came up with 6 recommendations for Brazil. The first one is to expand the content offering. This means adding the CSB Championship, which is the continental event for South America, and if possible, other high competitive leagues like the Turkish and the Polish domestic leagues. The second one is to increase the Portuguese content on the platform, especially in match previews, match narration, and the match analysis. The third one is to boost the awareness of the platform in the open and paid TV ads. The fourth is to launch an advertising campaign targeted to the young female audience, which is very important for volleyball in Brazil, and it's growing. The fifth one is to leverage on short videos, especially in platforms like YouTube and TikTok. TikTok is significantly growing in the region. And finally, to create strategic alliances with the volleyball clubs in Brazil to have access to their wide community.
The Italian market was really interesting for us. We noticed that about 94% of the survey participants were nor volleyball fans nor volleyball players. Our results were really interesting, specifically because as Italians, they're really involved with their clubs and with following other athletes, but also they're interested with the variety of content that the platform offers. We had people that heard of it mostly through social medias, but also a little bit through word of mouth. And as you can see, also forums, internet, competition, and TV. The person we interviewed is Laura Girolami. She was really interesting because originally from Italy and coaching now in the professional leagues in Switzerland. She started to be a subscriber in 2022, thanks to a discount offered by an athlete on Instagram. She is very satisfied because she watches a lot of content and basically she mutes it. Why does she mute it? Because she is an expert in volleyball. And being an expert, she is slightly frustrated with the level of commentary of the people on this platform. Of course, she is really happy and on the other side, lacks awareness, for example, for VBTV originals. And that's really interesting because her persona represents a lot of what we've seen in the survey. Based on this and multiple other things, we have the recommendations. Our first recommendation is to engage more with the Italian audience. One of the big assets of Volleyball World is their Instagram accounts, where they can talk to them in Italian and share specific content for them. We have here a recent example where there's someone asking, oh, where can I watch this competition? And unfortunately, it's not the community manager, but another Instagram subscriber that responds, oh, it's on VBTV. And we expect here, specifically for an audience that feels some kind of barrier with Italian, 51% approximately, we really think that engaging, asking questions, responding quickly on those platforms would be a great asset for Volleyball World. Our second recommendation is on quality. We've also understood that Italians really like the quality. They have multiple sources, newsletters, journals, newspapers, and broadcasting. So they really want a high quality of commentary during the game. Our next and last recommendation for Italy is partnerships with clubs and athletes. It has been successful, for example, with the example of Laura, and we believe that the proximity the people have with their clubs or athletes will also be a proximity with VBTV. Thank you.
The majority of the Japanese survey participants were college volleyball players who like to play and watch the sport. Despite this engagement, VBTV was largely unrecognized. 78% had never heard of VBTV and only 9% had used it. A few reasons can be interpreted. Firstly, in Japan, the free TV dominates the volleyball viewerships. 63% had watched the volleyball on free TV more than any other platforms, including internet and social medias. Another reasons can be English. The 79% responded English can be a barrier to accessing sports content, which may cause them to overlook volleyball world's updates and the contents. In Japan and Thailand, we also focus online on communication platforms like WhatsApp, but with an extended features for businesses to have official channel to share editorial video contents like Instagram and to send a message to each follower. 60% of the respondents showed interest in potential VBTV line account. They expect to receive promotions, updates, and exclusive content. We had interview with Aya. Aya is a passionate volleyball fan. She has been subscribing to VBTV, joining National League since 2020. She shares that she often struggles to collect information from various sources and expressed a desire to have a comprehensive platform where she can find volleyball-related information all in one place. Based on these insights, we recommend first producing content in Japanese and to invest in Instagram Reels and launching VBTV line account. For producing content in Japanese, even small touches like including Japanese players' name in Japanese in title, descriptions, or in graphics can attract attention. For Instagram Reels, consider featuring behind-the-scene content such as pre- and post-match moments or locker room talk, which are the favorites of Japanese volleyball fans. The IR interviewee shared that she and her friends often discover content on Instagram Reels and share to recommend each other. For the line account, it can be the ultimate platform for the volleyball fans like Aya. This is the example of the interface. So in addition to the messages in the bubble, you can customize the fixed sections at the bottom, which can include the access to the VBTV, calendars, or ticketing informations. Moving on to Thailand. In Thailand is a leading country in terms of the number of VBTV users. Our survey shows 49% have never heard of VBTV, but which suggests the potential expansion on the VBTV users. It is worth noting that in Thailand, national pride was one of the main reasons to watch volleyball. Watching a national team, especially female team, was why they subscribed to VBTV. For the preferred update methods, 76% preferred social media. And among the social media, Facebook plays the key role in the digital habit in Thailand. Over 80% engage with VBTV volleyball through Facebook, more than YouTube and Instagram. 60% showed interest in following line, if there is, and the expectations are similar to those in Japan, receiving promotions, updates, and exclusive content. We had an interview with RT. RT is a passionate volleyball fan, but was unaware of VBTV. He usually watched volleyball free on the internet. He highlighted the popularity of Thai national female players and confirmed the importance of Facebook as a key source of information. Based on these insights, we recommend first, including the content featuring volleyball female national players, and second, utilizing Facebook community chats, and third, launching line account. On Facebook, there are many volleyball fan groups in Thailand, and in those groups, they have community chats for the fan interaction. So Volleyball World can utilize these community chats to engage with fans and also provide Thai-centered information in Thai directly, which enforces communication and connections with the local audiences. Moving on to the US.
And last but not least, yes, last but not least for the US, The main motivations for subscribing are similar to the other regions, with the first being watching the US national team. Number 2, the variety of content that VBTV has to offer. And number 3, watching their favorite players. The favorite VBTV events in the US were the VNL World Championships and Big Ten Conference, but there was a strong desire for respondents to have more NCAA collegiate content available. 90% of respondents were interested in non-live content, and 83% currently watch volleyball free on the internet. We had the pleasure of speaking with Erica Brock. She is a former collegiate beach volleyball player and now a beach volleyball coach. The biggest takeaway from this interview was in all her years as an athlete and coach, she has never seen an advertisement for Volleyball World or VBTV. She first heard about VBTV when she was competing at Futures Beach Volleyball Tournament, and her mom was asking where and how she could watch the event, and Erica asked a teammate. That leads us into our recommendations for the US, with the first being utilize live event advertising at Futures or the American Volleyball Coaches Association convention. Number 2, running targeted social media ads, for instance, for our personas such as Erica, as well as how well it performed for our survey responses. Number 3, offer alternative content, highlight athletes, and connect alternative hobbies. For instance, movies, travel, and outdoors were the top 3 alternative hobbies expressed amongst US respondents. Number 4, AVCA, previously mentioned, runs an annual convention where many respondents express that's how they learned of VBTV. And we believe there's opportunity to do collaboration with AVCA to promote VBTV. And last but not least, VBTV platform updates. For instance, one respondent shared to wait 24 hours to include team names in finals title to not spoil who advances, as 90% of the respondents watch non-live content.
As we wrap up this analysis, it's clear that each country has its unique characteristics, but there are some key trends that unite volleyball fans across the globe. Some of the ones we identified and we want to share with you today is that fans consistently seek out for free streaming sources, mostly on the internet, that there is a significant lack of awareness of VBTV platform across the 5 regions, that the main reason for subscribing to VBTV and to watch volleyball in general is entertainment purposes. Hence, it's important to say that improving the skills of the game was the second one. The fourth one that we wanted to share is that Instagram is still the leading platform of interaction with volleyball in all of the countries except Thailand. And finally, the importance of nationalism, and this can explain the popularity of events such as the Volleyball Nations League and the World Championships in all of the countries. VBTV is a great product that needs to reach out to more and more volleyball fans across the world, and we hope that our work can contribute in some way to that purpose. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening and for being here today.
Thank you very much, Paulo and the group. Thank you to the audience for listening. And we'll now move to 20 minutes of questions and answers. We'll start once again by the client. I don't know if Anmol, you want to take the lead on the question, or
I've been working very closely with them, so I would let the team ask. But yeah, I do have a question later. So
you want me to? So thank you so much, guys. Very nice, very interesting presentation. I have a question. Did you somehow ask in your interviews about the price of the VBTV, and if you had any feedback about this? A generic question, but
Sure, I can start. We did ask about the price. In the case of Brazil, it was one of the sensitive factors for sure, and it's one of the main barriers of subscription. We had 8% of the respondents being previous users of VBTV, and they decided to unsubscribe because of the price. And some of them have switched to the only beach subscription, which is cheaper. And yeah, we did ask about the pricing.
okay. And what about like Japan? Did you ask as well?
Yes, I asked the question. And for BBTV, the fee is around 7-8 euro. And in Japan, there is a streaming platform for Japanese league, and it costs 10 euro at least, 10 to 11. So comparing these prices, my interviewee was happy with the BBTV's pricing.
Maybe moving on to the jury, and this time I will give the floor to Professor Derki first, because he didn't have a chance to ask a question in the previous group.
I feel honored. Thank you very much. So, I have a few questions. So the first one is, I mean, you gather a lot of information. In some countries, you gather enough information to start considering a good representation of the target audience. In other countries, less, okay, but anyway, overall, you gather a lot of information, right? So then you try to analyze this by geographies, and after that, you come up with a recommendation also led by, if I understood correctly, this interview, right? Now, can you tell me a little bit more about how you have built up these recommendations? Because you can come up with so many different ideas and so on, but can you tell me a little bit about the process you have used to come up with this set of recommendations?
I can go. So we initially discussed with the clients on approximately which number would be optimal to have a significant results and the lowest margin of error. Having collected the data, we understood that it was challenging for us to arrive at, I think the first goal was to have 380 participants per country. Having seen the numbers and not every country having that number, we can still, for some specific parts, give some advices and conclude some findings, but not for others. So it's a very interesting question because the richness of the data, we cannot conclude on everything we have collected because of the number of responses for specific topics or answers because of the numbers. Was it the question?
And then, yeah, but then how you come up with really this recommendation instead of another one? See what I mean? Because at the end, I take the 800 and more people that answer Brazil. Then you also interview one person in Brazil, and then you come up with a set of recommendation. Okay, how?
So
how you have filtered this recommendation, or how you have aggregated them with this?
Yeah, if I may. So first we analyzed all of the data. We came up with statistics on an Excel sheet.
Okay.
We did a comparison analysis by country. Then we compared among the countries. The interview was to further dig into the questions we couldn't access through the survey.
Okay.
And we confirmed some of the points with the interview. Once we saw that it matched what the person we were interviewing was pretty much the same opinion as the open-end questions we had on the survey, we came up with the recommendations. And here is when we said, okay, they are mostly using Instagram and TikTok is not number one, but TikTok is significantly growing.
You took the frequencies out of the responses that you got, right? The highest frequencies.
Yeah, we got the statistics, one statistic per question. What was the main factor or the main response? And we compared with the open-end analysis.
Did you present the set of recommendation in order of importance? When you say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so the first is the first that came out as most important, most frequent, therefore these are presented in this order?
Yes.
And you didn't consider to add any other reasoning? Like, so this is just from the survey, right? You didn't add any other rationale to complement this analysis with additional criteria. For instance, I was thinking of, okay, from a financial point of view, any of this recommendation can be, in some way, can lead to project. Each project leads to some investment, okay? So I can still recommend something, but if this in any way could be perceived as too much expensive or too difficult to realize, probably doesn't really be number one.
Yeah.
Maybe you can reorder this according to different additional perspective. Now, maybe it was not the scope of the work, but what I'm asking was if you had started also to consider these additional elements to give a little bit more information to the clients.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the question, Giovanni. We did. Unfortunately, we only had 20 minutes to present the results now, but in the report, there is a lot more information. We did went into the demographics of the countries, the size, main social media platforms they're using outside of volleyball. We compared all of these. Why we ordered them in that specific category is because it was the most common response among the responses. Hence, we didn't go into the financials because there's a lot of quantitative data World Volleyball has in Power BI and Google Analytics, and we wanted to focus on the qualitative part, the soft part of the people that are actually
That comes out of the survey.
Exactly. So yeah, we know there are some financial concerns. For example, the first recommendation for Brazil is to add a CSV championship, and of course there's a price on that, but we didn't did an analysis of what would be the returns of adding it. How many people would come onto the platform from putting the championship in?
Okay. I think a little bit more of limitations in the reading of this could help, interpreting a little bit better.
Right.
Probability of success or probability of adopting this specific recommendation. But overall, let me say, I should have started by saying that you have done a very good job. I like your presentation.
Thank you.
But I say this at the end.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any question from Professor Orion? Leave some time for Professor Goyanovic.
Yeah, don't worry. Thank you very much for your presentation. I found it also very interesting and very challenging because you try to help FIVB, I guess. Volleyball world, sorry. To win against monopolies. Because on one side you have Volleyball TV, on the other side you have YouTube, which is Google, and Instagram, which is Facebook. They are more or less in a very dominant position, and you try to help these guys to have a higher adoption rate than Google and Facebook. By the way, I don't know what is the adoption rate of Volleyball TV compared with other sports. Because I guess in every sport you find similar problems, I guess. If we talk to football, they would say, oh, we'd like to have a football TV having a higher adoption rate, blah, blah, blah. So my question is not to what you discover in your survey, but what you think after having done it. When you compete against something that is free, with a lot of value, because, you said it yourself, YouTube and Instagram is free, and they bring value. They bring a lot of volleyball job. Usually there are two options to win. Either you do a lot better, than these guys, or you are different. So if you had one recommendation for these guys, what to do to win, because this is what they want. They want to increase adoption rate. What would you say to them?
That's a great question.
One key thing to do, not many things.
So for me, the key words based on your question and what we found is decentralization. There's a lot of monopolies, as you say, with Google and everything, but the trends with TikTok, with Instagram is also a personal connection with the club, with the athletes. And so by having people wanting to follow people and recommending to other people to, for example, follow Volleyball TV, there's a high chance of success for an interest, a personal connection. So on what you said about to do a lot better, this is an opportunity. Someone sharing, for example, their private life, exclusive content such as their preparation, discussion with the coach, be in between matches. There's an opportunity for me in having such other content based on what Volleyball TV
But what
provides.
about Instagram? They have this.
Yes.
Every day you have people showing their privacy on Instagram. I'm not on Instagram.
Yes,
but
yes.
I see this in other social network on LinkedIn. People they love to share everything,
Yes. So the key, I think,
even too much.
the key, I think, exactly. That's exactly what I was going to add. Even too much. The key here is for Volleyball World to keep their image in front of the for the audience. So it's not sharing too much. It's recognizing what you can share, what is the best way to interact with the audience, to have something that captivates them, that feels them to have a connection. It's not about sharing everything. I would say it's about sharing and understanding what volleyball players like, and target also the people that want them to watch a volleyball live, for example.
This is what they do. They probably edit the channel. It's not like I'm sure there are things that you edit. It's not.
Yeah, absolutely.
There is an editor, or I don't know how you call him,
A community manager.
or
Yeah.
a communication manager,
Yeah.
which is not that we don't have on Instagram. So they do it already.
So based on that, and for example, with the example of Italy, the fact that you have to talk to the camera, the community manager, for example, talking to the camera or having specific things to say, there's still an opportunity of growth here. And that's one of the things we analyze, maybe slightly more subjective than the rest of the data we had for our project. But I absolutely agree with you. Yeah, that's a really good question.
Or is all yours?
So I'm trying to reduce my social media consumption, and so I don't know what I can do.
But it's also thing with age. So
Yeah.
it's more declining.
You know, if you make these things better, then I might be inclined to use it more. So I don't know. I am, however, a user of NBA platforms, and so I wonder to what extent. And you asked that a little bit. You know, how does it compare and all that? And quick info. Maybe I haven't checked everything, but I mean, when I go onto VBTV, I'm stuck. I can't see anything until I create an account. So I didn't. Yeah, and so because I don't know, it's a black box. But maybe I'm not on the right platform.
No,
So, yeah. So that's one comment, I guess, and I don't know what you can say about this. But I do have a question that relates to what I'm doing here as a professor for sports medicine and sports science. Is there any attraction or desire to have any content related to the sports science or health part of volleyball? Volleyball being, you know, massively adopted around the world. That's a question for you guys.
You want to go?
We didn't include the questions that can answer to your questions, but like in Japanese survey, the second biggest reason to watch volleyball was to improve their skills, mainly because this survey was among the college volleyball players. So they're looking for some content they can learn, not just having fun watching this content. So those health and practice or how to improve the performance through medical perspective can be also valuable for them.
Maybe just adding on to Yui's response, they started to do original content within the platform. Honestly, I haven't gone into all of the docu-series and this type of content they have, but I do feel that doing something around the health of the athletes, if they haven't done it yet, is potentially a great idea, looking at it from the medical point of view.
And of course, there may be, you know, issues with that. You know, one might think, oh, you know, athletes are injured, their health and all that, and people want to know what's happening, and so can we get some inside info? Well, hold on, it's not that easy, right? Although the NBA does a lot of that, and you guys know, because when I show you a lot of content from the NBA, because we get a lot of actually medical reporting and information, so we can actually comment on it. So I wonder if there's not an opportunity there to differentiate a little bit from what, you know, YouTube. It's just something on top of my head like that.
Ramon, you said you had a question for
Yes.
later, maybe later is now.
Yeah, we have time. I had a question specifically for Brazil and Italy. Were you able to explore marketing channels outside social media? Because from the data you must have seen on Google Analytics or Power BI, you see a lot of the people who are fans of volleyball come in the age group of 35 plus, 40 plus families, and we have even seen that at live events. And from our experience, we don't see a lot of engagement on Instagram, Facebook, especially in these two regions and the kind of audience which is there. And I think the scope also was to identify, which would be the right marketing channels also for us to adopt, considering the target audience which is there in this region. So were you able to go beyond social media in your research to understand what could be potential other channels we could use, for example, in Brazil and Italy?
Something you have to look at. Okay, so for Brazil, yes, social media is the biggest one. But throughout the volleyball club communities, the fan online forums of the clubs, Fluminense and all of these teams, we managed to get a lot of responses too. So these are die-hard fans of the clubs. And that's why one of the recommendations we did is to create strategic alliances with the clubs to access that community. If I understood correctly, you said that there's a big amount of fans over 40 years old, right? And it's true, but 86% of our respondents are under 40 years.
But did that data correlate with what you saw on Google Analytics?
I'm going towards there, yes.
Okay.
So what we were gonna say is all of these persons that answered that were over 50 years or between 40 and 50 said the main barrier is technical difficulties. So they do not find it easy to come to an OTT platform to stream volleyball. What they want is to turn on their TV and watch the game. They are not even watching it at YouTube from what we saw.
So you recommend that if we tie up with someone like Roku or smart TVs to integrate the VBTV app, that could be a solution for this audience?
Completely. And what we understood also is that the 1992 Olympics in Barcelona changed everything in Brazil. So there's a huge fan of volleyball people that started on the 90s because of the huge success Brazil had there. And since then, they haven't streamed the content on the OTT's platform and they just watch on TV. So now it's more difficult for them to access the content. And that's why we were recommending to create strategic alliances with the clubs they follow.